So Jimmy Kimmel was doing it. He was doing it too.
Yeah, he was doing it too.
Yeah. No, he was being accused of joking about it too.
So they were upset at him, even though he was attacking the appropriate person. He was doing it in a manner which is also construed as being transphobic. Like they were saying that his tweet is transphobic. He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host the Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and haw-haws.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yeah, it's a good joke. Funny thing to say. He's had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood.
Joe Rogan isn't pulling any punches in his takedown of Jimmy Kimmel's latest fiasco, as the late-night host flat-out smeared MAGA, and Rogan tore him apart for speaking without checking the facts, blasting how late-night comedy has morphed into a megaphone for leftist propaganda, and the burn was brutal. Not just criticism, but a full-on demolition. So buckle up, because this one's going to be fire.
Self-censorship and the idea of being a more empathetic person is a good thing, right? But as long as it's reasonable. But the thing is, the problem with that kind of stuff is it continues to go in the same direction where more and more things become forbidden and toxic, to the point where, you know, the Elon Musk joking around about my pronouns are prosecute Fauci. Jimmy Kimmel made a tweet back to him. He said, your pronouns are ass and hole, which is pretty funny. But then, and so then I read that, and there was people saying, please don't joke about pronouns. It's transphobic to joke about pronouns. So they were chiding him for participating in a joke about pronouns.
So Kimmel, a self-proclaimed leftist, once landed in hot water with his own woke crowd after cracking jokes about pronouns, and Rogan pointed out that this wasn't just hypocritical, it was downright problematic, as you can't champion a cause and then mock it when it's convenient, especially if you're supposed to be a face of that movement. And while it was meant as a jab at Elon Musk, Kimmel had 100 other ways to target him, yet chose to ridicule the very thing he publicly claims to stand for. So let's keep the clip rolling.
Yeah, he was doing it too.
Yeah. No, he was being accused of joking about it too.
So they were upset at him, even though he was attacking the appropriate person. He was doing it in a manner which is also construed as being transphobic. Like they were saying that his tweet is transphobic.
Do you think that was, in that case, do you think that's him or a writer? Can't you tell?
Jimmy Kimmel? Yeah. No, it's him, for sure.
Okay.
Yeah,
that's
definitely.
good. That's a good one.
He's a comic.
Yeah, that's a good one.
I mean, he used to host the Man Show. I mean, he's done some pretty outrageous back in the day.
Yeah.
You know, for hee-hees and haw-haws.
No, that's a good joke on top of a good joke.
Yep. Jimmy Kimmel once co-hosted The Man Show, a raucous, no-holds-barred comedy series that thrived on edgy humor and didn't shy away from mocking every corner of society, back when he wasn't pushing politics or pandering to ideological camps, but focused on raw, unapologetic entertainment, with the show being bold, outrageous, and wildly successful, earning him a massive audience and cementing his name in comedy, which catapulted him onto ABC, where he eventually landed his own late-night talk show. But here's the kicker. Kimmel's earlier self would barely recognize the version we see today, chained to politics instead of comedy.
I had a real problem with Elon from the beginning of this thing, but it's like he's in this leftist thought bubble. He is in the most leftist thought bubble available, which is Hollywood. And, you know, and I think also, you know, he famously, there's some videos of him in blackface, and those came out, and he had to apologize for them. And I think he took that hit and like really doubled down the other direction. I mean, that's just speculation. But he, you know, now is a guy that goes after people like Elon Musk.
I'm with Rogan on this one, especially when you consider the laundry list of ideologies and policies Jimmy Kimmel has championed over the years, going all in on pushing vaccines, promoting gender fluidity, and even supporting the controversial notion of biological men competing in women's sports, repeatedly positioning himself as a megaphone for the progressive agenda and never missing a chance to inject woke talking points into his platform, turning it from comedy into activism disguised as late-night entertainment, with the irony being that the very fans who once loved him for laughs now get lectures instead.
As being, because he's willing to put people on with uncomfortable opinions, and he's like releasing people that were banned from Twitter because of things that they had said. He's like, as long as you haven't done anything illegal, I'll let you back on.
Oh, yeah.
So he's doing a lot of that. So it's a lot of people are upset by that because then they think, well, you're platforming bigots and hateful people, and it's a weird conversation.
And that right there is the glaring hypocrisy of the left, as not too long ago, they were gleefully banning, censoring, and deplatforming anyone who said something uncomfortable, with Jimmy Kimmel cheering them on, not silently, but actively piling on, even mocking Elon Musk for championing free speech and hurling insults his way. Yet fast forward to today, and suddenly Kimmel and his woke allies want to play the role of noble defenders of free expression, which is laughable, as the same people who once persecuted others for speaking their minds now cry victim when the tables turn. And Rogan, unsurprisingly, can't stomach the hypocrisy, calling it what it is, pathetic double standards wrapped in sanctimony, with Kimmel simply reaping the bitter harvest of what he and the woke crowd sowed years ago, standing shoulder to shoulder with the mob, mocking and silencing those who challenged progressive orthodoxy, failing to defend the principle of free speech, which protects everyone, regardless of politics. And now, with the climate shifted, Kimmel finds himself on the receiving end of the very culture he helped empower. With Rogan's point clear, you can't suppress voices for years and then cry foul when the hammer swings back in your direction.
A free speech believer. I think the way to counter someone's inappropriate, even someone like Kanye West, that says ridiculous anti-Semitic things. The way to counter that is to counter that with more thoughtful opinions on what he's saying and point out that what he's saying is inaccurate in many ways, hurtful in many ways. Like, point it out. Like, talk. Let's have discussion. Don't silence the guy.
First, Rob Schneider may joke his way through the chaos, but he hits the nail on the head regarding free speech, as the First Amendment doesn't cover every scenario, especially in the workplace, where between an employer and employee, free speech isn't absolute, since a private company has every right to set boundaries on what its employees can and can't say because they represent the brand. And stepping outside those boundaries risks consequences, including getting shown the door, which is exactly the reality Jimmy Kimmel faced, thinking he could speak freely without repercussions, but employers don't play by those rules. And Schneider's point is sharp. The Constitution protects speech from government interference, not corporate accountability. And in Kimmel's case, his missteps came back to bite him, proving that free speech in Hollywood is far from free.
Chilled, are you in fear for the future of comedy and free speech?
Well, Will, first of all, I woke up this morning to the incredible shock that apparently TV shows are not guaranteed in our Constitution. I mean, wow. So that was tough to swallow. First.
Well, sorry to disappoint, but you'll be waiting in eternity if you think the left will ever condemn the Biden-Harris administration for pressuring ABC to axe Rosenbar, as that kind of accountability isn't in their playbook. Instead, they act as if it never happened, brushing aside the obvious political meddling, and it wasn't just ABC. The Biden-Harris team leaned hard on major social media platforms too, pushing them to clamp down on voices they didn't like and aggressively police free speech under the guise of safety, which the left once applauded, cheering censorship as if it were noble. But fast forward to today, and suddenly they're crying foul, pretending to be champions of open dialogue, a breathtaking hypocrisy, because when they silence others, it's justice, but when the tide turns, it's oppression. And Rogan's right. They can't have it both ways.
Still waiting for the left, the liberals, to get outraged about Roseanne getting fired for her free speech. And then I'm also waiting, I've been waiting a long time for the left and the Democrats, especially the Democrats on Capitol Hill, for the Twitter files that released that the Biden-Harris administration was actually using the government to pressure Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube, and especially Twitter to actually censor actual Americans through government pressure.
Jimmy Kimmel can be funny, and I don't mean to take that away, but the fact is, can you remember a political joke of his that went viral as genuinely funny? There was no humor in what he said. It was a lie, and as Will pointed out, since the 1960s, you need a license to broadcast, and this is broadcast TV, not Netflix or cable. So Jimmy Kimmel simply wasn't delivering value for money anymore, with ratings in free fall and advertisers, the lifeblood of television, panicking because they weren't seeing the returns expected, some even threatening to boycott ABC over Kimmel's increasingly distasteful and polarizing statements. It wasn't just bad comedy, it was bad for business. And then came the biggest blunder, lying about the MAGA crowd, which represents nearly half the country, alienating such a large audience, not just reckless, but career suicide, as Kimmel turned his stage into a political soapbox, driving away viewers and advertisers alike, leaving ABC with little incentive to keep backing a sinking ship.
Pressure. Capitalist pressure is really important because what happens is you have to make money or you have to do something of value so that you can get something in return. Now, the interesting thing is it's false advertising because honestly, I mean, look, Jimmy Kimmel can be funny, and I don't mean to take anything away from that, but the fact of the matter, can you remember a political joke that went viral, what was something really funny of his? There was no attempt in humor at all in what he said. And as a matter of fact, it was a lie. Now, as you pointed to, Will, since the 1960s, you have to get a license to broadcast. This isn't Netflix, this isn't cable, this is broadcast TV.
Jimmy Kimmel, the other night, misled and lied, and it was actually something dangerous, as with the FCC chairman. He wasn't going to pull the license, but give a warning and ask for an apology. So it wasn't the government doing it. Kimmel has no one to blame but himself. Taking a public broadcast platform meant to entertain millions and turning it into a personal weapon against the MAGA crowd, which wasn't comedy and certainly wasn't in the public interest, but self-serving, plain and simple, using his late-night pulpit to push whatever narrative suited him, alienating half the country, and cheapening his own credibility. And by prioritizing his vendetta over genuine value, Kimmel undermined both his show and his reputation, making his downfall the direct result of his own choices and obsession with politics over comedy.
TV, you have to, the airwaves are owned by the public. And to get that license, you have to be in the interest, like you said, of the public. And so that's why when there's a news van parked in the white zone, they don't get a ticket because they are there to present news to inform the public in the public interest. So what happens is 25% originally was supposed to be the news to inform it, just to get that license. So when you absolutely lie to the public, then you are no longer in the public interest, like Jimmy Kimmel did the other night. Mislead and lie, and actually was something dangerous. So with the FCC chairman, he didn't say that he was going to pull the license. He was going to give them a warning and ask for an apology, if what I understood on the Benny Johnson show. And so that's not the government doing it.
That's the truly fascinating part. All 2046 TV stations were unanimous in agreeing that Jimmy Kimmel's statements were out of line, a rare consensus in broadcasting that speaks volumes, as these aren't random voices, but stations that know their audiences, understand public sentiment, and have credibility on the line. Yet despite this overwhelming agreement, a handful of woke media outlets scramble to spin the narrative, desperately defending Kimmel's reckless comments, which is laughable. Are we supposed to believe that 2046 stations got it wrong, but a few ideologically driven outlets know better? The math doesn't add up, and the reality is clear. The overwhelming majority recognize Kimmel's words as distasteful and damaging, and no amount of woke apologetics can erase that. The defense is weak, the verdict is already in, and on this note, we draw the curtains on today's video. If you enjoyed it, hit the subscribe button and turn on notifications to get alerts for new videos we post on this channel. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.
6 different stations around the country say we're no longer airing this. It's because they heard from their consumers. They heard from their customers. And they said, that's it. We're not doing it. And so Nexstar, who's a great guy over there, Sean Compton, said, that's it. He's the CEO and said, when we have complaints like this and none of the channels, 246, because I'm sorry, it's not just LA and New York. There are people in between who have a real sense of decency and who realize that what you had here was you had someone who wanted to have conversations and debate.